Previously on the Trogly's Guitar Show. What happened to this BFG? Somebody sanded it down, but hey, at least now we can see the cool figuring of the maple. Oh no, this headstock. An attempt was made, but nope, that angle's not gonna work. Michael purchased that guitar for me and had it rebirthed. Let's check it out. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. This was done by a well-known shop, but I'm going to keep them anonymous. This way it doesn't feel like a sponsored episode or anything. This is just supposed to be fun for Michael, to document how he spec'd out his guitar, as well as an unbiased audit of how they did for him. I don't even know how he had this spec'd out. Let's see. Oh, I was not expecting that. All right, so it looks like some sort of a lemon burst finish, but he went really crazy with the inlay work. And what did they do to the headstock? Oh, some abalone. That seems to be the running theme on this one, just abalone everywhere, nearly to a fault, because you can find that on a lot of Gibsons and things like that. But once you have it in person, you can tell this is of a higher quality than that, certainly. But I mean, look at those frets. Those are nice and shiny. They did a good job there. But look at our headstock. It's got a wooden veneer on top of all that going on. But instead of binding, they just kind of did a purfling along it. But how did they fix the neck? The answer is they just didn't. They replaced the neck. But look at that. 5 pieces maple with the 2 walnut pieces. I would say that's pretty cool. So basically all that's left here is the body. I'm not sure if they actually utilized the original maple top or not. I mean, this looks nicer than what we were seeing. So it's essentially a Gibson body with crafted everything else. It's kind of hard to believe that this guitar actually started life very similar to over here with all those ridges. But what I'm really noticing straight out of the case is they definitely took the thickness of the body down. Maybe Michael asked them to do that to make it thinner and lighter, kind of like a custom light. But I definitely like how Michael kept it the P90 humbucker combination, because you don't find that on too many guitars. So we'll do a little bit of a quality analysis over on the workbench. But if I were Michael, I would nickname this one the OFG, the overly finished guitar, because there's already a CFG, unofficially anyways, within the Guitar of the Week series, where they took a BFG and just did it up like a studio. But this one definitely takes it up a notch. So let's go ahead, throw it on the workbench, see how we spec'd it out. All right, diving in here. So as far as the pickups, it looks like they utilized the original BFG's neck P90, because that's exactly how Gibson P90s look. However, in the bridge, instead of a burst bucker, he decided to step it up to a dirty fingers. So that's why you have a double row of adjustable pole pieces here. But he had a new custom cover installed on it, because usually dirty fingers don't get a cover because of that reason. And then check this out, a full metal pickup ring. I don't think I've ever actually seen one of those in the flesh. It is surprisingly chunky because of that. Many a times when Gibson goes with this effect, it's just a metal topper sitting over a plastic ring. But on the back, it's marked with its resistance as well as DF. Then you can see how the restorer attached it to it. They were not messing around with that. 4 solder joints instead of the usual 2. But now I'm curious, did he do anything? Nope. Okay, yeah. Just not that knob, it's these 2. We've got 2 push-pull pots. I'm really curious to see what that's going to do, because this is just a 2 conductor, so it's not like you're tapping the neck or something. But one of those has to split the bridge. Let's plug it in. So normally it's 15.85 k ohms within the circuit in the bridge, 8.12 in the neck, and they play together at 5.36. Shoot, I would imagine this one splits it. Yes, it does. But this might be in and out of phase. Or is that just a kill switch? Let's double check on the neck. All right, that looks like a standby / kill switch. That's fun. But as far as what's left of our original cavity and routes, you can go ahead and side by side compare it with our before and after. Yeah, that looks like the same body to me. But you guys won't be able to see it, but there's a lipped ridge under here. So this was definitely retopped, because Gibsons don't have that. Perhaps here's a better way to show that, just how far under that goes. They have no way to route that unless something has happened to it. As far as the bridge pickup route, here's what you're working with. When I first opened this, I thought, oh, did they just put a veneer top on it? But no. That just looks like a new one. It looks like Michael had them spec it out with a foam block rather than springs. Which, Michael, I would suggest maybe doing springs. That particular piece of foam's not very useful outside of just setting the height. If you like it there, you're good to go, but if you want actual control, get some springs. But the P90's cover is also metal to match our bridge pickup. But as a BFG lover, I kind of just want to leave it like that. Initially, when I had bought this guitar off of Reverb, the guy said it was a Gary Moore signature that somebody had did that to. But with the black paint in the pickup cavities, I deemed that probably not to be likely. But now check out what he did over here. With the retop process, you can choose what bridge style you want. So he went for a genuine ABR1 style post-mounted bridge. However, in a strange mix of events, they utilized a Nashville style bridge. Now, Michael, I do want to warn you, this bridge is collapsed. It's not super collapsed, it's just minorly. Like, I'm sure it's good enough for now, but you can see it does not maintain that straight line. It's got quite a bit of a gap. But for the viewers, that's nearly to be expected, because look, this is a 70s, 80s Schaller bridge. But it was designed for different studs in mind, so that's why it kind of wiggles around a bit. But to match the vintage bridge, you also have a vintage TP6 Gibson tailpiece, made in USA. However, the fine tuners have been replaced with what looks like brass ones. They're pretty cool. It matches the yellowness of the guitar. Something else with the bridge for you to know about, Michael. I'm not sure if this is an intended design, but this thumb wheel does not really move much past this point. Like, you've got to fight it. I feel like I'm actually removing this out of the body rather than the thumb wheels turning at that point. So that could be an issue down the road, depending on where it should be in your setup. But it could also be a thing where it's like, hey, you're not going to want to remove it past that point because of how they set the guitar up. I don't know. I just noticed this one does not do that. But now looking over to the knobs, it looks like he went for kind of the Chinese import style. Or Michael, if you paid Gibson pricing for these knobs, just know that they're not Gibsons. They have a little bit more of an ambered hue, so I'm kind of curious what pots he put in here. But he did opt for the rounded thumb bleeders. Then to match the fretboard, he got custom pickguard and poker chip. It looks like he ordered these online from someone. His contact information was here on the back. To me, it feels a bit raw, but they had it engraved Les Paul, and you get the abalone trim around it. However, you can kind of see it right here. The abalone is sticking up a little bit at the bottom, so just be careful when you're picking away right there, because I think that needed a little bit more sanding to be flush. I'd imagine the same guy made this. You've got that same effect right here. That one actually stands up quite a bit. The reason being is it actually looks like it cracked slightly upward. But cool attention to detail doing the rhythm and treble. I think it would have looked really cool doing that in Mother of Pearl and then having the outer ring being abalone. But now as far as the finish, I've always been curious about this shop's finish style. What would it smell like? Is it just like Gibson? It kind of reminds me of a lemon cake. Like, it's not foul, but it feels very similar to Gibson quality work. However, when you get really nitty-gritty detailed, there's a lot of small things. So first off, straight out of the box, the guitar was coated in dust, which, now being in a refinishing environment, it's to be expected, but I feel they could have wiped it down a little bit better. But I noticed right here, there's like a weird hazing / clear part. You see this area right there? It just catches your eye when it dances in the light. I'm not exactly sure what causes that. Maybe it's this area didn't get buffed enough, because you only notice it when the hazy area goes away. There's just that whole area right there. Now this area right here, I'm pretty sure that would clean off. However, over here, there was definitely some sort of a contamination within the finish. It stands proud. And then down here, there's just something actually stuck underneath the finish that does stand proud. I can imagine that's frustrating as a refinisher, because there's no way you can really get that out after the clear coat has been put on. I notice another dip in the finish over here underneath our tailpiece. Then we've got that haloing effect over here. It must have something to do with how they buff the guitar afterwards. It's just harder for them to get that area or something. Now, thankfully, the pickguard covers most of that over, but that is a finish thing. And then this is more so just on the piece of wood that they used. It's kind of got this valley / ridge thing going on here. So when you shine the light over it, you see a lot of dip. sharps.
There's also some sizable scratches right here deep into the clear coat.
But from a few feet back, honestly, you don't notice most of that. I do know this shop's not known for being the most expensive refinisher, so this isn't like historic makeovers or anything, but I do not know how much he paid for this project. But it does appear to actually be nitro. You can see a small finish check line right here, and then another one has formed over here in the cutaway. And with the addition of the top, did you notice that we put binding on it too? BFGs traditionally don't have that. But moving on from our body, let's talk about our neck. Now, I could be wrong on this, but this does look like something that you buy off of eBay where it's already been inlaid and the shop just put the frets on. And as far as the frets go, fantastic. It would not surprise me if these are stainless steel because those are just absolutely gorgeous. But as a review of the fretboard, it's a bit clustered in my opinion. It's actually a dragon, believe it or not. His face is right there and that's really cool, but it just feels like the design went a little bit too abalone heavy. When you do combinations like this, it's best to blend mother of pearl with abalone. Otherwise, it just starts to look like a jumble. As I've gotten more and more into art guitars over the years, you talk to people who are like fine inlay craftsmen and you learn some of the secrets. Like you see the black outline around all of them? That is a filler material. You can do it without filler, but that's when things get very expensive. You have to be a super skilled craftsman. But we've got 22 frets, and you still have your side markers so you know where you're playing on the neck. I measure a 1.69 inch nut width. Wow, 2.02 by the 12th. That's a pretty narrow neck. And he spec'd it skinny, 0.79 first fret neck depth. Whoa, 0.84 12th? I mean, that's even catching the heel a bit. But at the 10th, it's 8.3.
Here's a look at that neck profile at the first fret and the 12th fret. Definitely C-shaped and slim.
Guess while we're taking dimensions, let's see. It's about 1.83 here, whereas this BFG measures just shy of 1.88. So they didn't lose too much to the sanding process. And I wonder if it's the binding that just makes it seem so much skinnier.
At the middle, it's 2.3 inches. That is about 0.2 of an inch thinner than a regular Les Paul. And that might be what's catching my eye too. This has a dish carve, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot shallower than you're expecting like out of a custom shop or something. So we'll just give you a second to appreciate that. Really reminds me of some of the Norlin era dish carves, which matches our bridge and tailpiece.
And now let's move on to the face of the headstock. I left some of the dust alone here just so you guys understood what I was talking about with the body earlier. I would say with what the shop was provided, they did a fantastic job. As far as duplicating the Gibson headstock shape, the font looks correct, the styling and size of our custom block emblem looks right to me. There are Gibsons out there that look like this, however, when I took our truss rod cover off, I was kind of immediately disappointed. There's no truss rod. Well, there is. It's just metric in style.
If you are redoing a Gibson, it's best to have them utilize their two-way truss rod. Because if I did not know the full history of this guitar, of how it was a BFG and was sent down to a refinisher to be redone, I really would think that this was some sort of a really super ultra high dollar Gibson. Simply because of that fact. That would get all of my oh no tingly senses going. Another thing I found strange is it's a 12-string nut. I wonder if there's a reason why he did that. Like maybe he has a unique playing style where occasionally he wants to double up a string. Like have the E and A string like almost touching so it can be a pseudo 12-string. Might make more sense on your top strings with alternate tunings. But our truss rod cover was made by the same guys who did these. You just don't have the abalone trim, only the custom part. However, something that's really good in my eyes is it's not like we extended the binding down here like how Gibsons normally do. It's got the correct look. The headstock does seem rather thin, just a little over half an inch, whereas my BFG measures just a little bit more. We were talking a couple of episodes ago of how I don't know the dimensions in my head, but I can look at something and know if it's right or wrong. And that's just one of those small things that stood out to me, even though it's not that much thinner.
Now moving on to the back. With a nice natural finish, it's easier to hide minor flaws. But if you put it in the direct light, can I find some more contaminations? Yes. Primarily right here where that circle light is, there's like a metallic one that just happened to catch onto this guitar. It's kind of like a piece of glitter. Otherwise, just a little bit of that same hazing phenomenons in a few areas. But this style of wood grain looks correct as to that other body. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like I got a clear enough of a shot, but I do vaguely remember this spot on the body. So that's proof enough that it's at least a Gibson body here. But I was actually surprised by the electronics. Went for the good stuff, 500K CTS pots. We've got some sort of a cool silver capacitor, and you've got the nice push-pull pots with what looks like maybe a cavity shielding job. Output jack on the side with a metal plate. Opted for this style of regular strap button. Almost looks like a Dunlop, but not. And I thought this was interesting. The shop had to do the best that they could with the parts that they were provided. But Michael, you might consider getting a different toggle switch back plate, because this is definitely some sort of an import one, and it does not line up with any of the existing holes. It's too far inset. So they had to drill it like crookedly, and it just barely even goes in there. It's not really secured that well. As far as the edges, they did a pretty nice job. You've got the exposed maple cap, and like the rest of the back, there's just a few contaminations on the edge. All is looking good here. Now let's look at our neck. Look at this heel. It's pretty sizable, whereas this is how a heel of a BFG typically looks. They shave it down a little bit more. That's just a stylistic thing. However, otherwise, I'm very impressed with this neck. That's got some great figuring. Now, if there was one thing I could criticize it, the walnut stripes are a little bit wider than Gibson utilizes, but hey, I don't know, maybe that even makes it stronger. But if you really want to get in their face, there is like a little bit of black glue seepage or something along the fretboard in a few areas, like by the nut and down here. But most importantly to me is the feel. This feels very similar to a Gibson. Trust me, I felt much worse on refins. That part meets and exceeds expectations. But Michael's a cool guy and knows style. He put the Kluson waffle back tuners, the modern reissued ones that still work nicely. If anything, from the back, this just looks like a vintage arch top. However, I feel we made a grave error here. We needed the original serial number stamped back on here. Or maybe they could have grafted that portion of the headstock onto the back, even if it's just the serial portion. And on top of that, I would have liked to have seen who did the work, like put a little marking there. That way, unfortunately, all of us have an expiration date and things will be sold. And sometimes the stories don't get passed on. I'm worried what someone might think this is, because there's no way to know unless they just happen to find this video or somebody who knows the tale. So in many ways, this video helps them in that aspect. But I would suggest, Michael, maybe having somebody at least make a sticker you could put on this, and then looking into a way to stamp that serial, because as of right now, no serial. I was hoping maybe we would see something in our cavities, or like even in the neck or bridge. You can hide it, but still have it, but I didn't see anything. But all said and done, Michael's monster weighs 8 pounds, 2.8 ounces. Let's go ahead, plug it in, and hear how it sounds. I will say this has some nice tones to it. However, what we were talking about with that foam causes this P90 to be way too powerful, and it might actually be the metal cover. It's a little bit larger than usual, so at its lowest setting, it's pretty high up. So that's what causes that fartiness. bridge pickup doesn't have that. Having more of the neck in the middle position really adds to the chiminess, though. Now you could compensate with that for raising the bridge even more, but then it's just too hot of a fire breather guitar. You could also just roll down your volume a little bit. That rolls off super quick. Doesn't really change much at all after that. What is that, linear taper? What Gibson used to use, where it's like, it's just your first three? Let's see if the bridge is like that too. I wonder if he had them do something weird with that neck pickup, because that is way different. Duh, that's the tone control. So is this a master volume? No. Apparently, this might be custom wired to have two tones? Like, that seems just slightly different, like they have a different capacitor within it. So I guess if you like one of the positions, and you want to roll it down just a bit more, you've got that option. I feel like that would make sense in jazzy situations. But the bridge pickup seems to be about the same. But now can we bucket head on a standby push-pull pot? Let's just say you have to be really determined. Let's get back to cleans. Remember, we can split our bridge, so it goes from this. let's try some dirt. Something I'm learning here on this guitar, I believe the reason why many manufacturers choose not to use real metal pickup rings. So listen to this. I don't know, maybe that's a grounding issue. But you hear that metallic ring afterwards? That's from those vibrating. I guess it is kind of just like a string, isn't it? The magnets are just picking it up. So there we go, Michael's new BFG. What are my final thoughts on this thing? I feel like there's a few tweaks that still need to be made. The guitar does not like to stay in tune that well, and I think it's because of some binding occurring at the nut. I noticed it especially when tuning the A string, but it could also just be that the strings need stretched in a little bit more. I gave them a couple of tugs when I put them back on, but I don't know if they were ever set up at the shop. But this neck profile is really cool. Rather skinny feeling this way, but yet it's just got a little bit of a rounded C-shaped neck here. It's very interesting, and that had to have been his own custom neck profile dimensions. And when you're a skilled guitarist, there's nothing like something that fits your hand like a glove. But while playing this, I don't really even see anything about the body. I see this. And that looks exactly like a The Les Paul neck from the side profile shot, outside of the thickness and not having a volute. So I thought that was fun. And I also see this while playing, which reminds me of the Blonde Beauty Les Paul standard that we documented in this episode right here. So thank you, Michael, for sharing your creation. I hope you enjoy this quite immensely. I know it was a long wait to get it done. I hope my findings don't make you sad, but that's what I do. That's why you send it to me, is to do the full analysis. But alright, Troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed, learned something new, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.